There's this old proverb that says if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. That's the thread that twines our Exceptional Minds with RoboKind podcast. We want to connect you with the voices, the people, the movements, the work that's happening to promote, inspire, and achieve inclusive and celebratory moments for all. I'm Brian Baggs, CEO of RoboKind. Welcome to our episode. Hello, in this spirited and joyful episode of Exceptional Minds, we get the pleasure of today chatting with Dr. Stacy Carlock, the director of the Ladue Early Childhood Center. You might have seen her on social media as the principal on skates. With purposeful roller skating going down the hallways, she has turned her leadership into an everyday reminder that joy is a powerful connector, that early learning thrives when you meet learners and those adults just where they are on their level. A longtime advocate of the power of play, collaboration, and trust, she invites us in to see how her leadership, culture, and fun can go hand in hand. This is a celebration of joy as an educational superpower. I am so excited to have you here, Dr. Carlock. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here and just so thankful that you invited me. So thank you again.
Yeah. So one of the things, Dr. Carlock, we normally do is we ask some questions of folks. You find yourself in early childhood education, but how did you get there? Where did this whole story start? Can you tell us a little bit about you and how you kind of walked into education and maybe even specifically early childhood?
Absolutely. I am a speech pathologist by trade. I went to school to be a speech language pathologist, and I took my first job as an SLP in the school setting, and it just so happened to be early childhood education. So I was at a school that was specifically early childhood, all 3, 4, and 5 year olds, and that's where my career started. And I am still here 25 years later. So um, I was an SLP for about 7 years, and then I became a special education administrator. So I was a supervisor for the special education programming for years. And after that, I became an assistant principal in the school district that I'm in now, Ladue School District. And then we have 4 elementary schools in my school district, and I was the assistant principal at 3 of the 4 elementary schools. And then I became the director or principal in this building. So this is my 5th year at the Ladue Early Childhood Center.
Wow, that's fantastic. And that's so interesting. So I want to kind of tap in a little bit on that. So you started as a speech path, right? But then there's maybe some steps that you had to go through before you came to this other stuff. It sounds like you had a little bit of an exploration with special education department. Did you pursue additional learning along the way? Did you start speech path as Dr. Carlock? What was that like? Like, how did that happen?
So I started speech path, to be a speech language pathologist. I went to school and I went to get my master's degree right away because you need a master's to work as a speech language pathologist. So I had my master's in speech pathology and audiology. And then from there, about 6 years into that, I decided to go back to school to get my administrative degree. So I also got a master's in administrative leadership. And that's where the administration came into play, specifically the special education administrator role that I have first. So I got a master's in educational leadership with a certificate in special education administration. So I started out in special education administration in Milwaukee. I am originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So shout out to Milwaukee and the Milwaukee Public School District, who just so many great memories. But anyway, I was there for a while, and then I met my husband who lived in St. Louis at the time, and I moved here in 2010. When
Okay.
I moved here, I did not know much about St. Louis. I did not know much about the schools or anything. So I went back to what I knew, and that was being a speech pathologist. So I came back to my roots as an SLP because that's something that I'm always going to know. I'm always going to be certified. I'm always going to know how to be an SLP. So I was an SLP for a couple years in St. Louis, and they got word that I was an administrator.
They said, "Wait, you're holding out on us. You got some other skills in that toolbox over there. All right,
Mhm.
okay."
Yes, so then I got offered a position with special school district here in St. Louis. Our special education services, we partner through a whole nother district called special school district. So I took an administrative position as an area coordinator, which is a supervisor for special education programming. So I did that for 5 years, and then 5 or 6 maybe, and then I became an assistant principal. And at the time of me being an assistant principal, I had a wonderful superintendent, Dr. Donna Janke, who's retired now, who had went on to work at the university, St. Louis University in particular. And she had, said, you should really get your doctorate. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to go back to school and, through all of that. But she's such an amazing person, an amazing mentor. Just she saw things in me that I never imagined that I knew I had in me. So I had to do it. So I've only had my doctorate since 2019. So that's how I ended
Okay.
up getting my doctorate.
Well, that's wonderful. That's a great story.
Yeah.
And it's funny. So many of the folks that we get a chance to talk to, they had an idea. Like, and for you, it was like I want to kind of contribute into this speech pathology place. And then, as they get in, it's like this kind of like this push and pull where they just kind of get pulled into additional
Yeah.
opportunities and they see things. They want to be about solutions in new spaces. They want to create infrastructure where their peers can find the same kind of joys in teaching and learning and therapy sessions. And then one day you wake up and you're like, well, I guess this is where I am now, right?
That's exactly how it is. You
Yeah.
said it perfectly. Yes.
Yeah. So one of those places that you're at now is being known as a director, a principal who skates through the hallways. How did that happen? Like, walk me into that. Were you just always skating, and then finally someone noticed, or did you put the skates on? Like, what happened there? Tell me.
So a few years ago, about 3 years ago, I hired a teacher's assistant.
Hmm.
And one day she asked me if I knew how to skate. And I said, well, yeah, I can skate. I've
Yeah.
taken my daughter skating as a kid. I can skate. And so I started skating with her about 3.5 years ago
Outside of school.
outside of school, outside.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And then a couple years ago on Halloween, I had my costume on and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to add my skates to it to make it more interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
And ever since then, everybody loved it so much. The kids loved it. I mean, it was just a hit. And I kept my skates here at school. And then I just started thinking of ways to make this place a fun place, an inviting place, a welcoming place. I'm all about culture, I'm all about morale. And so the skates were just a hit. So now I'm providing skate breaks for kids who need motor breaks. I am
Oh, okay. All right.
providing
Yeah.
demonstrations for how our carpool runs on skates. I don't know. I'm doing everything on skates now. After this, I have one student in particular who's been waiting for his skate break. So I'm going to get him and take him on a break. So yeah, my secretaries have now created a Google Doc where the teachers can sign up for a skate break for students because
Wow.
so many students want to skate too. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just become a thing.
Yeah. Well, that is a wonderful thing. And I mean, that sounds so great. Like, we're getting that opportunity to use our whole body, right? We're getting an opportunity to kind of get some of those jiggles out, right? And
Yeah,
also, it sounds like there's also probably some motivators, right? That your
mhm,
teachers can hold on to get opportunities to go skate with Dr. Carlock. Like,
absolutely.
there you got some good stuff cooking in there. Like,
Yeah,
it's some pretty neat levers you have there.
absolutely. And I love doing it. I love my students, but I really, really, really love my staff. My teachers, they make
Mhm.
this place what it is. I never want to take all the credit because they are the ones doing the hard work. They're the ones doing the planning. They're the ones doing the teaching. And me being on my roller skates is just an addition to something great that they're doing. They are amazing. And, me being on my roller skates, I have a rolling desk as well. So
Yeah.
I roll my desk around to pop into classrooms, to greet staff in the morning, to give them a special treat, a nice
Yeah.
hello. And sometimes when I'm doing my observations and walkthroughs, I like to just roll around with my
Mhm.
skates and my rolling desk because I have 24 classrooms in this building and I want to pop in and write
Yeah.
up my little blurb, send it off, and move on to the next class. So,
Yeah. So that kind of leads me into a question that I wanted to ask you, and you've kind of been hitting at this, but relationships are huge, right? And I think one of the things that you've talked about in the way that you cherish your staff and you give them praise and you recognize the work that they do that often gets unseen. But can you talk to me a little bit about that? Relationships with staff, relationships with families. Shoot, I just saw recently on one of your Instagram posts you had a kindergartner that came back that
oh,
missed her time at early
yeah.
childhood. Obviously, you put relationships as something that is important. How do you build those relationships? And maybe you can pick any one of those. Let's talk about staff. Let's talk about families. Let's talk about the kids. Like, how do you do that? You seem to do that so well, but talk to us about that. What's that look like?
Well, I'm just going to say it's the key ingredient. Relationships are so important, and you have to have positive relationships and build relationships with your staff, your students, and your community in order to have a environment like this. I love getting to know people. I guess that's just part of who I am. I am a people person. So
Yeah.
I love getting to know people. My staff, I know them and they know that I know them. They can tell me something from last year and I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, Brian, how's your daughter? Did she
Yeah.
do okay on that test? I don't know. It can be anything. But I love making it a point to let them know that they are seen, they are heard. I want them to feel valued. I make it a point to talk to my staff on a regular, to get to know them, to get to know about their families, about their children on a personal level. And I just really feel like that's important. So it's just something that I strive to do. I want to know my staff and I want to know everybody's names, all my students at Carpool. I want to make sure that when I'm getting them out of the cars, I'm greeting the families and I'm greeting them by name. Now, I do have help with that. My
Yes.
secretaries are
Okay.
amazing. So we have little signs that we make, and then we have
Yeah.
these little things right here that the parents hang in the
Oh,
rearview
yeah,
mirror
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like this,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you have
yeah.
their
The
name
baby
on it.
coming through. Okay. Yeah,
If Brian Baggs is pulling up, I'm gonna say, "Hey, Brian, welcome, happy Monday." By the
yeah,
end of the school year, I won't need that piece of paper anymore, but it's a helpful, thing to help me get to know everybody's names. And the
yeah,
families appreciate that. They feel like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. She knows my kid." And I'm
yeah.
getting to know your kid. I'm getting to know you. I get to talk, morning carpool and afternoon carpool. So I build those relationships there as well.
One of the things that I'm hearing as part of this magic is this kind of like building great infrastructures and systems that help you build those bridges to relationships, right? And that's one of the things that we see with exceptional leaders all the time is that yes, they have some natural dispositions that they bring in, but those little tricks like that, thinking about systems that may be about helping us find the right kid to patch with the right car, but knowing that that system can also be leveraged to building that relationship and getting to know and be known at the same time, and those
Right.
relationships with staff, like that's part of it. It sounds like it's
Yeah.
marrying together some good systems with some good intentions. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, my staff, I can't I appreciate you, Brian. I appreciate everything and all the overwhelming response that I'm getting, but I want everyone to know that I am who I am, but this place is the way it is because of my staff. I'm part of it. They are amazing. They are creative. They are smart, brilliant people, and I cannot commend them enough for what they do here at the Ladue Early Childhood Centers. I don't ever want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't give credit to my staff because they are great.
I absolutely get that. And I think that's one of the things that make really great teams is that we recognize the parts and pieces of how we come together. We celebrate their strengths and it all comes together to make something special. So kudos to
Absolutely.
you guys.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question. Like at Robokind, one of the things that we're strong about is creating play-based learning, and
Mhm.
we think about creating moments that celebrate both the joy and the success of learning together. I picked that up that play-based learning in early childhood education is something that you might embody as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about the power of play in education and maybe how that might impact like outcomes and success?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here at Ladue Early Childhood Center, we follow a curriculum called Project Construct.
Okay.
So we embed all of our learning and our academics through purposeful play, and that's
Okay.
huge. Man, I wish I could take you on a tour of what that looks like because it is amazing. But I'll
Yeah.
give you a little idea of, for I'm just going to give you an example here. Say,
Sure.
for instance, a child is building a tower of blocks. In our classrooms, they aren't just stacking blocks. They're learning about engineering, problem solving, spatial awareness, all of those things. So we spend a lot of time creating an environment for kids to learn through a play-based approach. Problem solving is huge at this age. Self-regulation is huge. So we work a lot on getting kids to, our activities so that the students are able to be self-regulated. And then I think one of the things that I love most about what we do is goal setting. So our students get to
Hmm.
create goals and they get to tell the teachers what they learn about. So, Brian, let's say you liked Disney
Yeah.
princess or Disney, whatever. They're going
Yeah.
to create that experience in the classroom. We have some specific things, structures in our classroom where they can build around it and create a Disney thing. We had one student who loved Southwest Airlines. He wanted to build Southwest Airlines.
Wow.
I wish
That's
I
a
could
great
show you.
entrance.
Yeah, they created a airplane, with seating, TSA. I mean, the kids, the work that they do through play is just absolutely amazing. And, it's if they're in the dramatic play center pretending to be a doctor, they're developing their language skills, their social skills.
Yep. And reciprocity and going back and forth, right?
Absolutely. All of those.
Executive functioning and making plans for when you're going to use this and I'm going to all those things, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So our teachers just facilitate an environment that makes it all fun and makes learning fun, and it doesn't include any rote
Yeah. Yeah.
things or memorization or worksheets or anything like that. It's all fun. But when they leave here and they go on to the next level, you can definitely tell that they've been at an early childhood center because they know what they need to know when they move on to kindergarten.
Yeah, I totally get that and I support that. In my household, my wife is a director of pre-primary
Mhm.
and in early childhood, and it is such a transformative experience for the
Yeah.
kids and the families to have that early opportunity to get those social skills, to begin to understand rituals and routines, and to get the academic underpinnings and building
Yeah.
blocks. They're going to set them up for success their entire academic careers. And so lots of great work there. Thank you for sharing on that.
Absolutely. Oh, you're good.
So let me ask you maybe two more questions. The
Okay.
first one would be is if you could deliver one piece of advice to a new or aspiring school leader about creating positive, playful school environments, what advice would you give to them?
My advice would be, the times that we're in now in
Sure.
education, turnover is real, burnout is real. So as a leader, I just really believe it is my responsibility to ensure that my staff are a priority. Yes, the students are a priority, but my staff, in order to retain good
Yeah.
teachers, that staff morale is going to be huge. I just feel like when teachers feel supported and happy, that positive energy is contagious and it trickles down to the students and it truly creates a vibrant environment with engageful, is that a word? Engageful learning. I don't know
Sure.
if that's a word.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm tracking. I follow. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is my teachers aren't just employees. They are the heart and soul of this school. I know, again, I'm going to say this, I'm getting a lot of attention, but the teachers are who are truly making this thing happen. So, just by creating a culture where they feel respected, celebrated, valued, seen, I just feel like if you're doing that as an administrator, it's not only going to improve teacher retention, but it will also empower them to do their very best work. So that's why I do what I do. And that's why the importance on staff morale is huge for me.
I totally understand that. I think one of the biggest indicators around student success is the relationship that they can have with that teacher in the classroom. And
Yeah,
so when we invest in making sure that those teachers feel heard and respected and celebrated and understood and supported, that's the best thing that we can do for those students that are coming through our classrooms, is giving
absolutely.
them that teacher that feels all the support that they need. I mean,
Yep. I
we,
was gonna say happy teachers lead to happy students, and you know what
no,
that means? That's a win-win for everybody.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's great advice for administrators. I think that's great advice for folks who want to develop technology or products or curriculum, like Project Construct that you talked about earlier. Like, these are things that like really are transformative. I mean, you know, I'll say this. You know, one of the things that we talk about at Robokind, we're a tech company, right? And
Yeah,
so but we believe in right size tech, and we believe that we should be connecting students and teachers, not students and screens. And so
right.
it's about that connection. It's about centering that teacher and kind of getting rid of like anything that may be a hindrance and really allowing them to invest in that space. So you're speaking our language. I applaud you for that. I think that that's absolutely amazing.
Thank
So
you.
one last question. Earlier, you talked about some of the connections that you had with a supervisor that led you down that path of getting that opportunity to go to university. You know, one of the things that I observe when I have incredible guests like you come in is
Mhm,
that they make connections with teachers, they make connections with families, they make connections with supervisors, they make connections with industries and organizations, and that ends up becoming part of the fuel that helps them continue to keep going. And even in this conversation just now, I've listened to how you've talked about these various connections, and it seems like that fuels me, including one from earlier on where you talked about you had a supervisor that encouraged you to go on and get your doctorate's degree. To me, and at Robokind, we feel like connections are so important. So one of the last questions I always ask folks is that, how do you approach building connections, and how could you tell our listeners to build connections with people in their spaces, their
mhm,
communities, that might help them kind of continue on in the work that they're doing, finding inspiration, encouragement,
mhm.
equipping, all that sort of stuff. How would you tell them to do that?
Absolutely. So, Brian, we talked about this earlier a little bit, relationships. Connections and relationships go hand in hand. So, I just feel like in whatever job you're in, it is very important to build connections, to build relationships, to get to know people, to have meetings with people that you are afraid to have meetings with, just to learn more about what their job is about or how to move forward. I was telling you earlier about Dr. Donna Jenke, who used to be the superintendent of Ladue School District. I remember talking to her when she said I should consider being an assistant principal. The first thing I said to her was, I'm too scared to speak in front of people. And she looked at me and said, What? I said, I am not a public speaker. I'm so nervous. I can't even imagine standing in front of a huge, audience giving presentations and meetings. And she was like, Stacy. And after that, when I tell you, like, I get very emotional talking about this because I got into the doctoral program and she took me under her wing and she showed me things about me that I never knew. And she believed in me, which helped me believe in me. Sorry, I'm going to cry a little bit. And when I tell you it changed my life, it changed my life. Part of why I am here too. I mean, I love being a school principal. I love my staff. I love the students, but what I love most is inspiring others. That's what I love to do. I have so many teachers here that I have helped inspired to move on, help them to believe in themselves, just like Dr. Jenke helped me believe in myself. And we have a lot of teachers assistants here that go back to school to
Yeah,
become teachers. I help them get in programs, teacher certification programs, so that they can become a teacher. Like, I see things in them that they don't see in themselves. And it's the same thing that Dr. Jenke did for me. So I
yeah.
do everything I do because people have helped me along the way, and I want to help others along the way. But I would just say, go for it. Always reach out to people, have connections, build relationships, get a mentor, because you never know. Like, you don't have it in you to see what it is, but other people do. And so I just think that's very important.
That's such good advice, and that's such great inspiration. And I just want to encourage our listeners who may be tuning in that, Even if you're not exactly sure who those people are yet, you can take those words from Dr. Carlock just now, you can put them over yourself, and you can start your journey and take her inspiration as well. Dr. Carlock, thank you so much for joining us today. Such great insights and advice, and just a joy to have you here. And so we want to say well done to you and your entire staff. You guys are doing fantastic things at Ladue, and we're here to cheer you on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. I had a good time. It was great getting to know you. Tune in. I'm going on Kelly Clarkson on Saturday.
Woo! You heard it here. You heard it.
And I think it'll air October 2nd. So just wanted to let you know.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That wraps up this episode of Exceptional Minds with RoboKind. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found inspiration to bring back to your own learning community. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd also love to connect with you on social media, so follow RoboKind for more resources and updates on inclusive education. Until next time, keep supporting and celebrating every learner, and remember, together we can empower exceptional minds.